Kimber writes, I read the Islam booklet that you all offered. It was eye-opening. What are we as Christians supposed to do to fight the spread of Islam?
I think the most important thing is the truth. This book was put out by The Truth. Is religion a peace in peace of war? It tells how Islam started. It tells what Muhammad had to say. There are direct quotes from the Quran and direct quotes from the Hadith. This is the basic. That religion has not been hijacked by a few fanatics. This is the heart of what Muhammad had to say. What can you do to fight it is, first of all, to talk about the love of Jesus, the power of Jesus, and the grace of Jesus, and especially women, the role of women in the Christian faith, as opposed to the submissive character of women in Islam. If you want this book, you get it for free. We'll just call in or log in. We'll give it to you. All right.
All right, Jenna writes, I have been living with my boyfriend for 2 years. We're very happy together and we love each other. But recently, I've had the desire to get closer to the Lord, and I feel guilty for living together before marriage. I know we are sinning. We plan to get married after I graduate college when we have the money. Please give me advice. Also, is getting married by a court the same as by a church?
You know, I may shock some people. I've come to the realization, and you know, you may disagree with me on this, but I think when two people commit themselves to one another in the presence of God Almighty, that they are going to be together for life, and I will cherish you and love you as long as we both shall live. When you make that commitment before God, I think that's marriage. Now, it can be solemnified by a church, and I have performed a number of weddings and been involved in them. It can be before a justice of the peace. As far as legally goes, it really helps to have a license and a clerk and all the legal formalities, because otherwise it's a common law marriage and you've got some trouble legally. But you're asked before God. It's the same thing. But I tell you, for the two of you, why would you live together in what is a sinful relationship when you say, well, we love each other, we want to get married when we get through college? Well, do it now.
Whatever you do without faith is sin, right? So
that's right.
They feel like they're
that's
sinning.
Right. And so you know there's something wrong. That's exactly right. All right, what else?
Well, Patty writes, I married a man who presented himself as a born-again believer. In the almost 7 years we've been together, he's had 4 DUIs, been convicted of receiving stolen property, and he recently deceived a ministry out of $15,000. Am I morally bound to this marriage?
You know, in law, they've got a term, fraud in the inducement. If there is fraud in the inducement into a contract, the contract's not valid because of the fraud. I think you would defraud. You must have been crazy, or you must have been blinded to get into a relationship.
Love is blind.
He said he, quote, presented himself. I mean, give me a break. You got about the discernment of a slug. But in any event, what do you do with that? Can you get out of it? I would think so. I think fraud in the inducement, that marriage should never have happened. All right.
All right. Well, Ruthie writes, in God's eyes, when are you considered married? I think you might have just answered this.
Right.
My friends are going to have a commitment ceremony, but they want to wait to sign the license because of tax reasons. They don't want the government to take away their money. Will they be married in God's eyes if they don't sign a license?
Of course, I just finished saying just that, but I don't know what you're talking about, what the government's going to take away from you, unless there's some unemployment benefits or some other...
Some sort of tax reason. I guess there's a penalty if you get married on your license.
There's what they call the marriage penalty if you file jointly, somehow filing separately, and depending on your financial status, you pay more taxes than if you're single, and that's called the marriage penalty, and they've been trying to get it out of the law forever. But hey, I don't think taxes ought to control what you do.
Yeah. Do you think in the marriage situation that when you have that commitment, when you have that marriage license, or you've stood before a preacher or a judge, that it makes it perhaps harder to walk away
So it
6
does.
months in or a year
Sure.
in. So I guess there is that benefit of.
Well, you have a congregation or group of friends saying we'll support it. All right,
Yeah.
one last question.
Okay, we got Jim saying, is gambling a sin? If so, why? If I gamble and give a good donation of my winnings to my church, is it still a sin?
Well, when I used to live for the devil, I spent some serious money gambling, and in order to make up for it, I used to tithe my poker winnings, and I became, I think, the largest donor in this little church in New Haven, Connecticut.
They loved you, probably.
They love me. I mean, all of a sudden, this big bucks were coming in from this law student. What is it? The trouble is, when you lose money, you can't dip into the collection plate and take some back. I said about gambling before, if you're a Christian, you are tempting God. You're saying, Lord, this is your money, and I'm going to stick it down on the table, and I'm going to put down $1,000 or $50 or $20 on the fact that I'm going to pull to an inside straight, that I'm going to get another heart to round out a flush, that I'm going to draw another card to make a full house or something, and I will win. You are tempting God. The Bible says you should not tempt the Lord thy God. If it's just for kicks and you're playing bingo in the old folks' home, I don't think there's any big deal about it. But that's the problem with gambling. Is it a sin? That's why it's wrong. Well, whew, man, we had a bunch of them today, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
All right.
We did.
Thanks for those questions. I really appreciate getting them, and we appreciate the chance to answer some of the problems that are on your heart.